Welcome to Minghui Radio's Falun Dafa podcast, bringing you a window into the lives of Falun Dafa practitioners across China and throughout the world. Stories include first-hand accounts from practitioners who face persecution in China, as well as insights and experiences gained by practitioners during the course of their cultivation.
The following is an experience-sharing article from the 2022 Nordic Fa Wei entitled, My Cultivation Experience of Participating in the Zhen Art Exhibition by a Falun Dafa practitioner in Sweden. The article was published on the Minghui website on November 13th, 2022. I'm a Swedish practitioner. I would like to share my cultivation experience and my involvement in both Shen and the art of Zhen, Truthfulness, Compassion, Forbearance, International Exhibition. Part 1. Beginning to Practice. Around Easter in 1995, Master Li came to Gothenburg, Sweden, and lectured for several days. I went and found it an extraordinary experience. Master was great, and he answered all our questions with compassion and patience. This is what I had been waiting for. While in my 20s, I was very interested in finding out what life was all about. After I got married and had children, I spent most of my time taking care of my family. As my children grew older, however, I became more and more eager to explore the spiritual world. I also had a dream that one day I would become an enlightened being. But I did not talk about that because I was afraid people might laugh at me. In my mind, though, there was always a clear picture. That is, I used to live in a dimension where heaven and earth were in harmony. When my daughter was pregnant with her first baby, she attended a training on children's health and met a Falun Dafa practitioner. The practitioner told her that Master Li was scheduled to visit Gothenburg around Easter in 1995. When my daughter called asking if I was interested in attending the lecture, I said, "Of course." Before that, I had a very strong feeling that someone was telling me, if there is a master looking for you, you need to follow him. A week before Master's arrival in Gothenburg, however, I threw out my back and had difficulty moving around. I consulted with my daughter about what to do, and she replied, "You just need to come." So I borrowed my mother's car, which had very low clearance, and allowed the driver to recline the seat more than a typical sedan. That was how I drove 15 miles in a half-lying position to Gothenburg. It was Easter week, 1995, and it was a special, memorable week. Later on, I realized this period of time was miraculous and precious. I was the only Falun Dafa practitioner in my region at the time, but my daughter often took me to experience-sharing conferences around the world and reminded me to be diligent. That is why I really thanked her for encouraging me to be diligent. Several years later, more practitioners moved close to me. I thanked Master for all those opportunities to meet other practitioners. Together, we established a group practice site and held activities to tell people about Dafa, including at local cultural events. This helped me to be more mature in cultivation. Part 2. Helping with Shen. When Shen came to Sweden for the first time in 2008, practitioners needed to help. I joined the efforts, and it was an honor beyond words. I also understood it was my mission. The Shen artists were outstanding. They were reviving traditional Chinese culture miraculously. I like to work quietly, but I am also very quick and flexible. When helping with Shen, Unexpected things or new assignments came up from time to time. Although I had a rough idea of what I was supposed to do, I needed to act quickly to handle new situations and challenges. Working backstage, we learned to let go of ourselves, including not interfering with the artists, not being talkative, and being ready all the time. Most importantly, we needed to provide a quiet place for Shenyun artists so that they could focus on the important things that they are supposed to do. We usually didn't have any break until the show was over at the end of the day. By then, however, there was hardly any food left for us. I also helped with checking costumes during the tour. In the past, we had to arrive at the theater early in the morning to iron costumes. They came in bags after the previous performance. In recent years, they're kept in closets with wheels. They're much easier to transport, and some clothes do not need ironing anymore. But we still need to check all the costumes. If some of them are damaged or dirty, we need to mend or clean them in time. Another Swedish practitioner and I were responsible for laundering the performers' personal clothes. We usually separated the men's clothes from the women's. Additionally, we separated the lead dancers' or solo singers' clothes from the rest of the performers, and the orchestra performers from the others. The laundry was done well in Sweden, and we received many compliments. How well and quickly we did the laundry largely depended on the facility in each theater. Some theaters had washers that we could borrow, while others had no washers or very small laundry rooms. One example was in Denmark this past March. We had to use the laundry room in the hotel, but things worked out well. Our clothing team worked well. We have been familiar with the workflow, and everyone puts his or her heart into it. We also cooperated well for things to go smoothly. We knew what we were doing was very important. It was the same with security. Guarding a door might seem trivial, but we took it seriously and did it well. After all, this was related to the safety of the Shenyun artists and whether the performances went well. Many years ago during a show, I was guarding an orchestra pit. Upon hearing the orchestra play the melodies, I suddenly saw the dancers performing in front of my eyes, even though from the angle I could only hear the music. This miraculous experience enabled me to understand how powerful a Shenyun performance is in a new way. When sitting in the theater and enjoying the performance in the past, I would see the wonder of Shenyun first through my eyes. Now I could absorb the amazing performance through music into my body. The Shenyun dancers, singers, and musicians would usually find a place in the theater before each performance to practice or rehearse. In a short time, everyone would quickly get into character and cooperate perfectly. It was like magic. I always admired these amazing programs. Every time Shenyun came to Sweden, those days were the most magnificent days in my life. During Shenyun promotion, I also fortunately became a member of the hotline team. I had some excellent conversations with people who bought tickets. Helping them see Shenyun was a great honor for me. Part 3. Art Exhibition. In recent years, I've participated in the Art of Jinshanren International Exhibition. These artworks are stunning, and each one tells a story. During the exhibitions, I have seen visitors of all ages, and they were all fascinated by the artworks. Some children in particular were reluctant to leave. They wanted to stay longer to enjoy the paintings. Over 10 exhibition guides formed a cultural association with weekly meetings. Besides studying the Falun Dafa teachings, we also made plans such as expanding the art exhibition to more cities. We held 7 exhibitions in the past 12 months. The most recent one was at a book fair in Gothenburg. We were assigned a prime location. Over 650 publishers and more than 82,000 visitors attended the fair. Falun Dafa has helped me understand the universe, as well as the interaction between heaven, earth, and mankind. In contrast, my pursuit of life's purpose in the past was rather limited and insignificant. My mind has become calmer, and this peace starts from my inner self outward, different from what I had thought earlier. Looking within and constantly improving myself is a miraculous tool for cultivation practice. I am very thankful to have finally found a way home. While there have been many tests I have not handled well, they are getting few and far between. I am truly grateful to Master. Thank you, Master, and thank you, fellow practitioners.
The following is an experience sharing article entitled Be Kind to New Practitioners by a Falun Dafa practitioner in China. The article was published on the Minghui website on March the 13th, 2024. I began practicing Falun Dafa in 2012. I'd like to share some of my experiences in helping new practitioners. When I first began cultivating, I was surrounded by veteran practitioners who were very diligent. They diligently studied the Fa, did the exercises, and clarified the truth, and they also constantly encouraged new practitioners like me to cultivate. Master said in Fa teaching on World Falun Dafa Day, quote, "Cultivate with the heart you once had, and success is certain," unquote. There is much a new practitioner does not understand when just starting to cultivate, such as the importance of studying the Fa, paying attention to safety, and so on. We veteran practitioners should encourage and help new practitioners in their cultivation. Part 1. Young practitioners who have predestined relationships with me. Soon after I started cultivation in 2012, a practitioner clarified the truth to a young woman who was a practitioner but had long stopped practicing. Her mother was also a practitioner. The girl stopped practicing after she attended school in another city. When talking with her, the practitioner found that she and I were the same age, so she introduced her to me. When her mother and other practitioners asked her to study the Fa, she refused. But when I asked her to study the Fa with me, she agreed. When I later moved to another city to work, she followed me there, studying the Fa with me. During that time, I was going through a big tribulation regarding sentimentality. I fell in love with a man I shouldn't have, but it was hard to end the relationship. When I was at my lowest point, the girl came to me. It was during the Chinese New Year holiday. We both were taking a break from work, and we would read 3 lectures in Duan Falun every day, and did the exercises. We were immersed in the Fa every day, and we felt peaceful and pleasant. She told me that she dreamed we both were sitting in a classroom. Master came to the window, looked at us, and smiled. I knew Master was encouraging us with her dream. I managed to pass the trial of sentimentality that I couldn't get over for a long time. The man later wanted to get together with me and asked to see me. I was able to refuse this time. I realized that when I tried to help this particular young practitioner, I had cultivated myself diligently with her, and I had actually helped myself, thus I was able to pass the trial. Part 2. Influenced by the CCP's indoctrination. In the process of helping this new practitioner, my own attachments were exposed. She liked to chat with people, watch TV, and look at her phone, but I was just the opposite. I was quiet and focused on cultivating. When I saw she wasn't diligent, I wanted her to improve. However, because of having been indoctrinated by the Chinese Communist Party (CCP), what I said to her lacked compassion, and I had made her feel uncomfortable. I later realized that it wasn't right to force my opinion on others, and when her behavior bothered me, it was an opportunity for me to look inward and find my attachments. I stopped focusing on her shortcomings and only looked at my own cultivation. When she chatted with people and watched TV, I would just ignore her, going to another room or putting on my headphones. I tried to stop looking down on her or complaining about her. I later found that she changed and she started taking the initiative to study the Fa and do the exercises. She soon met other practitioners who motivated and encouraged her. She became diligent. Her celestial eye gradually opened, and she would often share with us based on the Fa. I knew Master arranged for us to help each other. Part 3. A Coincidence. I met practitioner Mr. Fan through my job, and he told me that a co-worker, Miss Ding, used to cultivate in Darfa, then stopped. She recently resumed cultivating because she was diagnosed with cancer. Mr. Fan felt she would be more comfortable talking to a woman practitioner, and I agreed to study the Fa with her. Because I later lost contact with Mr. Fan, I felt this was truly Master's painstaking arrangement. Through him, I met Miss Ding, and I could help her. In my understanding, since she had stopped cultivating for a while, she needed to be more diligent in order to catch up. It would normally take me an hour and a half to travel to her place. However, I felt as long as it was related to cultivation, I could overcome every difficulty. Years ago, a practitioner said something that inspired me. We only have group Fa study once a week. Even if the weather is bad, I'll come. Besides studying and reciting the Fa, we would also spend some time sharing our cultivation. When something happened that we couldn't let go of, we would look at it from the Fa's perspective, and I felt our dimensional field was pure. Part 4. Treating other practitioners kindly. Because I still had not let go of my CCP indoctrination years ago, I sometimes would force my opinion on Miss Ding. Now I tried to understand her situation from her perspective, and she resumed practicing cultivation in order to recover from the cancer. I found some articles on the Minghui website about illness karma tribulations to help strengthen her righteous thoughts. We also talked about what we could do to save people, and we would encourage each other. I often felt seeking personal salvation was not the reason why I practiced cultivation. Instead, we are here to save sentient beings. We have the sacred title, Darfa Disciple, that Master gave us. We formed a small cultivation environment to encourage each other and be more diligent. One time, she tried to spend a paper money bill with Darfa messages imprinted on it, but the seller refused to take it. Afterward, she didn't want to use the paper money bill anymore for fear that she would be refused again. I felt this came down to one's cultivation, and I couldn't force her or tell her what to do. As long as she had the heart to save people, no matter what approach she would take, it was all fine. Part 5. Conclusion. Whether we are new or veteran practitioners, everything we experienced was carefully arranged by Master. When we cultivate diligently together, the cooperation between us is a process of cultivation. As a veteran practitioner, I shouldn't feel superior to others, nor develop zealotry. Even though a new practitioner just began cultivating, it doesn't necessarily mean their enlightenment quality is low. If we have the heart of helping others, we would be more broad-minded, and we would continue to push ourselves to do a good job, be good mentors of new practitioners, take on this responsibility and not let down Master's arrangement and other practitioners' trust in us. I'd like to tell new practitioners, it's great to have the veteran practitioners encourage and help us, but we should not develop any attachments, such as gratitude, following others, and so on. Any attachments can be taken advantage of by the old forces, which may interfere in our cultivation. We should treasure our group environment and open our hearts to share in cultivation issues, and we should encourage one another and cultivate diligently. I hope we can all treasure this precious group environment, walk the final leg of our cultivation path well, and return home with Master.
The following is an experience-sharing article entitled Cultivating Forbearance Through Conflicts with My Daughter-in-Law by a Falun Dafa practitioner in China. The article was published on the Minghui website on March 4, 2024. Many people think that in-law relationships are the most complicated family issues. Before my son got married, I thought that I would be able to get along well with my daughter-in-law since I had started practicing Falun Dafa back in 1998. It turned out that I was too optimistic. My daughter-in-law was known for her hot temper. She easily became angry over trivial things. Once she lost her temper, she scolded or even hit people. She and my son have a daughter that her mother had taken care of. I moved from a village into their house in the city to look after my granddaughter when she started kindergarten. That was when I had real contact with my daughter-in-law. That was also when our conflict started. From the time I arrived at their house, my daughter-in-law started to pick on me whenever she was at home. She found fault with almost everything I did. She complained that I did not clean the house well enough, make adequate meals, or get the clothes clean when I washed them. She verbally abused and even hit me. She was the most unreasonable person I'd ever met. I remember Master Li, the founder of Falun Dafa, said in lecture given at the conference in Sydney, quote, "When you have suffered all of this, you didn't stoop down to his level. Your heart was calm, so you did not strike back when hit or talk back when cursed at." Unquote. I thus endured her behaviour, and I didn't say a word, but we still had conflicts. I was not happy and wrote down everything that happened, so I would have something to throw in her face one day. Looking back, I was shocked to realise that I had such a strong attachment to revenge. Although superficially it seemed that her behaviour didn't bother me, at the bottom of my heart I was resentful. I lived in fear that she might blow up at any time. As I continued to cultivate, I realised that nothing happens by accident and that the root cause of our conflicts might be my karma. My daughter-in-law actually was helping me eliminate my karma, so I should have thanked her instead and no longer worried. One day when she lost her temper and yelled at me for no reason, my son could not take it and argued with her. I stopped him, saying that she would be fine once she blew off a little steam. I didn't feel resentful this time and kept smiling, although I did not fully let go of the grievance because cultivating Xinqing was very difficult even though I understood the principles of Dafa. My daughter-in-law still got angry from time to time, but I believed what Master said in Far Rectifies the Cosmos from Hong Yin 2. Quote, "Mercy can melt heaven and earth into spring." Unquote. I tolerated her unreasonableness and told myself to focus more on what was good about her. Other than being grumpy and irritable, she was devoted to the family and did not have many of the bad habits that most young people had. I still did the household chores as always and took good care of my granddaughter. When my daughter-in-law was in a good mood, I chatted with her and kindly reminded her about the bad effects of losing one's temper. She slowly sensed my kindness and appreciated my help and lost her temper less and less often. One day recently, she made a big issue over dumplings. We had dumplings for lunch, and I kept some of the leftovers warm in the pot for my granddaughter. I saved the rest along with newly made ones in the fridge. I fed my granddaughter the dumplings in the pot when she got home from school. My daughter-in-law lashed out at me for feeding her daughter the leftovers and for not heating them up enough. She also threw away all the dumplings in the fridge. Master said in Lecture 4 of Drumfalun, quote, "When one runs into a conflict, it may manifest as a Xinxing tribulation between two persons. If you can endure it, your karma will be eliminated. Your Xinxing will improve and your gung will increase as well. All of these will come together." Unquote. I felt that I might not have eliminated my karma completely, and that Master may be using this incident to help me. After my daughter-in-law finished complaining, I felt very calm and went to my room to study the Dafa teachings. The next day, my daughter-in-law called before I could make fresh buns for my granddaughter. She said, "Mom, you don't have to cook fresh food for my daughter when she comes home from school. Just heat up the old buns." What a relief. Our conflict was finally resolved. I am extremely grateful to Master, who encouraged me to pass the test this way. Without Master's guidance, I really don't know how I would have improved my relationship with my daughter-in-law. I would like to thank Master again for using her as an opportunity to help me cultivate and improve my Xinxing.
Thank you for listening to the Minghui Radio Podcast. For more information, including news about the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China and experience sharing stories by practitioners around the world, please visit our website at en.minghui.org.